Hello, I'm Alice Patterson, and for the past 7 years I've been working as an analyst on the investment team at an Edinburgh-based investment fund. In this short clip, I'm going to speak about how internal factors impact a business's ability to meet its objectives and how it can overcome internal constraints. A business's key objectives are to be profitable and satisfy other stakeholder requirements, ideally sustaining these over the long term, without negatively impacting the planet. There are many internal factors that could jeopardise the profitability of a business. For example, corporate culture, staffing, management, availability of finance, and technology. First, let's look at corporate culture. This sets the tone for the whole organisation and can impact how staff interact, how productive they are, and how the company and its staff are perceived by the outside world. Is it a company that you enjoy doing business with? Ideally, the culture would be inclusive and staff members would feel like they belong and deserve to be there. Employees would feel valued and appreciated and understand how they contribute to the overall goals of the company, and therefore they'll be motivated to do a good job. A good corporate culture can encourage beneficial partnerships with other companies, as well as improve customer loyalty. An open and tolerant culture encourages collaboration and means that people are less likely to be scared of failing. And this is especially important for innovative companies that rely on staff coming up with new ideas. Mergers between two companies might not be as successful as hoped if the cultures of the two organisations are not compatible. For example, in 2014, Google acquired the company Nest, and there was a clash of corporate culture. Google had a more laid-back and engineer-driven approach, whilst Nest was more formal and used to operating in more structured manners. The fallout of this was the CEO of Nest left, along with many other employees. This resulted in the loss of experienced members of staff. Mergers between companies that have been bitter rivals for years are unlikely to lead to one big happy family. A failed merger could result in having to sell a company at a huge loss or even writing it off completely. Another internal factor that can impact profitability is staffing. Staffing a company correctly is a balancing act, and employing the right staff in the first place is key to creating the desired culture and maintaining it. It is necessary to have the right number of employees, as well as making sure they have the correct experience, training, and attitude. If there are not enough members of staff, then there is the risk that deadlines will be missed and demand from customers will not be satisfied. Clients may decide to take their custom elsewhere, and the company would lose the business. Another negative impact of not having enough staff is on the staff themselves. They may end up working long hours and feeling overloaded and stressed. This can lead to illness and time off work, which makes the problem worse for the remaining staff. However, having too many employees is not ideal either, as there are lots of fixed costs associated with employing people, for example, paying salaries and pensions. And if people are not fully utilised, they can become unmotivated and distract colleagues who are trying to work. Many companies have variable workloads throughout the year, and this makes the balancing act even harder. To get the numbers as close as possible, companies may look at historical trends, as well as trying to anticipate future demand. Getting commitment for orders from customers in advance can help. Also, having access to a bank of temporary staff that you can call upon when needed may be useful. Having longer notice periods for key members of staff, for example those who manage teams or carry out an important process, gives time to be able to recruit a suitable replacement and enable a smooth handover. It is also important to provide training to ensure that people are competent in their roles and can also develop further and potentially be promoted. These are key factors to keeping staff morale high. Management is another factor that can impact profits. Management is responsible for creating the corporate culture of the company. It is in their power to lead by example and encourage certain traits by rewarding those who demonstrate them. The management of a company is key to overseeing everything and ensuring operations run smoothly, efficiently, safely, and responsibly. Communication is important, and again, it is a balancing act. It is important that staff are kept informed of key developments so that they feel included and are able to carry out their functions. However, you don't want staff overwhelmed with emails and unable to get on with their core role. A good management team is able to anticipate constraints and plan for them. Management should be structured in such a way that every staff member receives the support necessary to carry out their job effectively. For example, appropriately sized teams, not so many layers of management that the top executives are so far removed from what's going on at the coalface. This will vary, of course, on the overall size of the company. Another factor is the availability of finance. To be a sustainable business, it is necessary that ongoing cash requirements are met. Cash is needed for things like paying staff salaries, buying raw materials to make products, buying and maintaining machinery needed to make the products, delivering the products to customers, spending money on advertising to publicise products and services, and win customers. Ideally, cash would be available as a result of having made profits. However, companies may choose to borrow money to meet their cash needs. There is a risk and cost associated with borrowing money. When borrowing money, it is usually necessary to repay it with interest, and so, overall, you end up paying back more than you borrowed in the first place. If the company is able to put the borrowed money to good use and make a profit, then this can improve the company's overall cash position. However, if a company is unable to repay the money it's borrowed by the agreed deadline, then this can lead to the company being declared bankrupt. It is therefore key that a company does not overstretch itself. The final factor that we'll cover is technology. Having the right technology is a balancing act and requires judgment from management. People need to be able to carry out their jobs, however, they don't necessarily need the most expensive, top-of-the-range items. There may be off-the-shelf software products that can serve a company's needs without the company having to pay extra for something to be tailor-made. Equipment breaks and becomes obsolete over time, and so it is important that it is replaced and upgraded often enough to eliminate or minimise downtime. It isn't a good use of time for employees to wait 30 minutes each morning whilst their computer warms up, or each time their Excel spreadsheet tries to perform a function. Every few years, it may be necessary to overhaul and upgrade IT systems. As well as the expense, there is also operational risk associated with this. There may be problems migrating data from old systems to new, and this could cause loss of data, or prevent employees from being able to do their job for a period of time, and this could lead to loss of income as well as reputational damage. For example, German delivery company DHL had a failed software implementation in 2015. There are some industries where the cost of a technical failure can be fatal. For example, a technical fault in an aeroplane can be incredibly serious. Also, technical problems at a bank could have a big knock-on effect for customers who are relying on being able to access their money. When analysing a company with a view to investing in it, you can assess the internal factors, such as culture, by things you read about them in reputable publications like the Financial Times. It can also be useful to refer to independent websites such as Glassdoor, where employees can review the companies they've worked for, although it is worth noting that this mainly attracts people with an extreme opinion, often rather disgruntled employees. Publications such as annual reports that are available on the company's website can also be useful, but of course they will be biased. In conclusion, it is important to be aware of how internal factors can impact the profitability of a company and try to avoid potential problems in the first place.